good. They've made a lot of progress. So I'm a big fan of watching WNBA games. They're fun to watch.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say about the WNBA is it's a good filler for a lot of the NBA teams that have, teams in both the NBA and WNBA, and they have some solid franchises as well in non-NBA markets. I know Seattle's a very good franchise. Las Vegas has one as well.
Los Angeles too, I believe.
Well, but I'm talking about non-NBA markets, okay?
Mm-hmm. Oh,
but
sure.
yeah, as well as both. It doesn't matter. There's some that have a good history, so it's a good filler. So that was just a good opportunity to give the WNBA a shout out. And then finally, let's go into the Astros Scandel. You live in the greater Houston area. You got about 15 minutes to talk about it, and then we'll elaborate on it on a future show.
Oh, I know Alex Cora just breaking news just probably not less than an hour ago. Basically, is out. He hasn't even been disciplined yet by Major League Baseball. So this is going to send a little bit of a tsunami through Major League Baseball. I think it's kind of funny that these people that are heavily involved in the technology and the analytics, some of these people are getting hit in ways that 20 years ago we would have said, "Back, you kidding me?" Did something like this actually happen? If we're looking back, 20 years ago. So I think AJ will probably wind up getting hired as a manager again once the suspension is lifted. I don't know about Lunau. Lunau is, an analytics guy, and I believe is the general manager of the Astros, and his career might be ended because of this. Cora's going to be MIA for a while. And these are areas that, we got to find out if other teams are doing this as well. So it's, an avenue that, is relatively new. And we're just coming off Maury with with the Rockets in China. So, this is kind of cyberspace, and all I know is that we're involved in it as well in a more low-key, situation. But some of these guys are getting earholed pretty good because of what I consider to be an avenue that's like the Wild Wild West, and they're making poor decisions. And what really radiated with me was that, the manager and him knew about it, but chose not to do anything about it. And I wonder if there's so many, Indian chiefs in these organizations that no one person is in charge anymore. And I think a lot of this, has to come with ownership taking a look at, who's in charge and who's calling the shots here.
Right.
Because if I'm a manager, I was kind of shocked that a guy like A.J. Hinch, I think he broke the camera once or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm not mistaken. Lewis, this is your baby, so you can probably talk a little bit more about it. But I just looking at the big picture here, and I'm kind of laughing out the other side of my mouth, going, "Geez, Louise, these guys are ruining their careers over this stuff, and to really make that much of a difference." And some of these franchises are really upset, like the Dodgers. I don't blame them. It's kind of interesting to see that these are situations that we never would have dreamed of, back 20 years ago. So.
Yeah, well, we just had a conversation with Jake Rongholt about this where he was kind of talking about, and he closed off a segment, I believe, Scott, when he was saying how a lot of fans of the Yankees and the Dodgers were calling and complaining about what Houston did and how it took away from them. What nobody has mentioned yet, and I'm sure it's been written in a piece, 2017, Houston was hit with a horrible hurricane, Hurricane Harvey. And a lot of what made that World Series team so great was that they rallied around the city. They donated millions of dollars, and a lot of the proceeds, and I believe some of the World Series shares went to Hurricane Harvey relief effort. Yet it was done, and a lot of that now is tainted because of how they went about achieving it. You can say a team will do anything they can to show the city that they love and embrace, but when you have to stoop to this level and do it and get officials and get scouts not even with the organization to kind of help them in the aiding of this, I think it's deplorable. And I said before, and I'm going to say it in our baseball show, I think players need to be subject to penalties for this because it was a player-devised scheme as outlined in the report. They need to be reprimanded for it. There's star players who were incremental in this coming to fruition, and for them not to receive any flack is, I think, absurd. Do I think Hinch manages again, to your point, Bill? Yeah, I do. And Bob Costas said last night on MLB Network that he's going on a reclamation tour, kind of like an apology tour, over this year to kind of rebuild his reputation. I personally think he's a great manager. You would agree too, Scott, and I'm sure you would as well.
He's a great manager, but where I differ from both of you guys, okay, and I really believe this, is I think he's going to get blackballed.
I mean, he may, and I may not disagree with that whatsoever.
All right, but hear me out, okay? Hear me out. And you too, Bill, okay? When you have a allegation like this where you lose your job over this, and then the cover-up is worse than the crime, beating the camera, my gut feeling is he's going to get blackballed.
And again, it wouldn't shock me in the slightest at all.
Well, but that's just what I'm thinking, Bill. I mean, I think he gets blackballed. You'll have a different opinion. You will. And our later on tonight when we do our baseball show, he'll have a different opinion. So, you know.
Well, you know me, the way I break it down is this. For me, it's a wait-and-see attitude. I wrote a book a long time ago, From the Outhouse to the Penthouse, and somewhere in between. And I'm in between on this one.
Right.
And the reason for that, I think Pete Rose, it's time for him to get inducted in the Hall of Fame. We're going to call the Houston Astros now the Houston Asterisks. It's just the way it is. Roger Maris had an asterisk next to his name when he broke Babe Ruth's record, but he, because of a couple of more games. And I look at this now, and we're in such a place of heightened with the woke movement, and so far to the left now that people can't even sit in the same room. I mean, I'm sitting here watching this big stink about Vince Vaughn shaking the president's hand at the championship game, and how Hollywood wants to kill him. And it's like you just sit back and go, we got to wait for this pendulum to swing back to the middle. It's the same thing with this. I think this is the first time that people have been caught, doing something that maybe they didn't think was that big a deal. Right. And when I listen to Pete Rose, baseball is always notorious for stealing signs. It's part of the culture. All right, but now you have a thing called technology, like we said before, which has accelerated a lot of people's sensitivity to words and also behaviors. And, these guys really, they took one on the chin today, losing their jobs over this. And I play the percentages. I'm sitting there going, okay, I used to steal signs in second base. Now they're sitting there with a video camera and a garbage can lid. How impactful was it? And quite frankly, when you look at it, it's probably, if I'm a batter, I'm going up 3 or 4 times as a baseball player. I might use that 5 or 6 times during the course of a game, not every pitch, because, I still have to guess whether they're right or wrong. But they were more accurate and they started using it more. So they had to do something, all right, to stem the tide of this. And it's going to be interesting to see how more involved this is, what they're going to do with Cora, if there are any other teams doing this. And then from there, I think, we'll be able to rein this in a little bit. But, as far as, I think the Astros have been punished enough. I think, and I just think this thing will blow over. But, I just think also we got to worry about, not being overreacted to this.
Yeah, but Bill, I don't know. I don't think you could overreact to something this serious. I understand overreaction, Bill, in lots of ways. I get it, okay? But not something of this magnitude. Nobody's going to sit here and tell me that if you had the media coverage back when the Black Sox scandal took place, okay, that if you only imagine what you would have had with social media, that was severe stuff. Although Field of Dreams benefited by it. Another day, another time. Okay, I know you're laughing, smiling, Lewis. I get it. And then let's take it another step further. You talked about Pete Rose. Okay, can you imagine what social media would have done to him these days after Bart Giamatti got rid of him? Another story. Social media being what it is. And now the steroid thing, which still gets scrutinized a lot by social media. But this one here comes at a time when social media is probably at its largest peak ever, and it only figures to get bigger than the Titanic. Yep. So I don't know if the word, Bill, really overreact, to me, is a mountain of controversy what's taking place. You talked about 2 World Series managers that have lost their job because of this thing. Not 1, but 2.
2 of the last 3 champions now tainted because of it.
Well, right. Well, yeah, but again, I love Bill's line, the Houston Astros. We're going to remember that one on future shows, and you better remember it too, Bill, because that was awfully good. But
the media, how about this one? Bobby Thompson. And they shot it around the world
But
Right.
The media is going all the way back to sitting there going, were they stealing signs in that game? And they had some really strong evidence. This showed that the Giants won like 39 or 47 games, came out of nowhere, and then, the guy on his deathbed, the guy who's been pursuing the story for years kind of pinned him down, and the guy kind of said, he had a lot to do with him at that dinger, and so you never know. So on one hand, I'm kind of glad about the investigative reporting. At the same time, I don't want to walk around paranoid thinking I can't trust anything. But, I will say this. I think we're reining in. We'll get a handle on this stuff. But the penalties have to be severe in order to stop people from doing this. But I'm watching guys going to jail. The Astros guy with the Cardinals, he's in jail. You've got players that, we won't even talk about Antonio Brown. Jeez Louise, watch what happened to him today. It's just, you got to be smart as attack, and you got to, know what you're doing on this thing right now because we're in cyberspace. And man, the public is taking this stuff and running with it. So, they got to come down hard on these guys, but I'm wondering how severe it really was in the actuality of the Astros winning the championship. And I'm going to wait to see that. I'll probably have to get out too. We have a couple of cocktails in him. Sit down and go when he's retired, and we're sitting there going, all right, how many pitches did you really, use that thing for when you started hitting? And I bet you'll turn around and say, it's probably about 10%.
Well,
I kind of look back and go, okay, well then, I don't think that the Astros championship should be tainted. But if I'm a Los Angeles Dodgers, I'm not buying that. So there's never going to be a cut and dried answer.
The only thing I'll say in reference to that is this, okay? And let's not lose sight of this, okay, Bill? You either, all right? And that's this. This is not the NCAA men's basketball tournament where they can take away your championship, okay, or the NCAA football where you can take away a Heisman Trophy. Otherwise, you might as well start doling out refunds as though the games never happened and the revenue was never there. Because the NCAA took away the Louisville Cardinals championship, and Michigan should have won it if you base it on that factor, okay? But again, so no, their world championship isn't going to go away. The tape, the revenue is there. But yeah, does it play an impact? We'll never know. The reality is the commissioner is doing the only thing he can do, and that's punish them to the highest extreme and make sure that, and setting the precedent, that if this continues to happen, if this is a starting point, just imagine where it can go later on down the road when I go ahead and punish you guys later. This is just the Astros. Try it again next. Maybe we take away all of your draft choices. This is just the beginning of what could happen here.
Get caught once, shame on us. Get caught twice, shame on you. And I'll reference back to what you said, where you can't overreact to this. The Bobby Thompson Ralph Branca incident in 1951 was isolated to one game. I understand the Giants were trailing by 13 games at the start of September. That's understood. But Houston had this system employed from the start of May through the end of October and into early November. So this is 6 months of prevailing cheating that was going on. I understand baseball's cheated since the dawn of time. Steroids were a thing. Pud Galvin, the pitcher in the 19th century, used horse tranquilizers as performance enhancers. Hank Aaron Greenies, whatever. We've cheated. But to do it for a prolonged period of time is a lot different than one home run hit in 1951 with an iconic Russ Hodges call. It's different. It's not. They're two totally separate entities. One won a pennant. One helped win a World Series over 6 months. You can't win a World Series in June, but you can lose it. And that with the help of stealing signs surely as hell did help them.
Yeah, well, good points. But the bottom line is no matter how both of you two slice it, the media coverage wasn't as much as it is now, where everything is under a magnifying glass. Everything's so much more magnified. But we'll see how it all plays out. Well, meanwhile, Bill.
Well, I had to laugh at this. I was, doing a little homework before I came over here, and some guy from the Chicago Bears, from the 85 Bears, said something like, it's a good thing we didn't play in today's arena. The whole team would be in jail. Times change, and you have to adjust with the times. And, so we'll see how the story plays out. It's good stuff.
All right, well, meanwhile, we'll see how it plays out, during the course of the week. And I'm sure we will definitely be readdressing it. Just a little heads up, okay? Bill Winters and I will be doing a broadcast